Hi, I'm James from Chaosium. I sat down with Rick and we talked about Chaosium Con. Specifically, Rick talked about the Chaosium Con auction, a special collector's auction filled with all kinds of historical Chaosium products and cool things that have been taken out of the Chaosium archives. I started the interview by asking Rick to tell us about what to expect at the auction, what kind of cool things are going to be there. I'll jump across to that interview in a moment, but first, remember to subscribe to the channel. It helps us out and it lets us make more content like this. Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. As a person who's been the auctioneer at a number of Chaosium collectibles auctions going back to the 90s, it's great that we're having this as part of Chaosium Con, which is hard to believe is only a little over a month away. We're within 5 weeks from launch, April 8th and 9th. And so we have a number of hours set aside for the collectibles auction. And it's going to be a whole wide range of things. It's going to have some premium items. It's going to have some more common items. It's going to have some fun items, some funny items, a little bit of quirky and chaotic, and something for everybody, not just the high rollers. Although we are, catering to all pocketbooks, including some of the bigger spenders. Bless them.
So tell us what kind of things we can expect to see at the auction. You said there's going to be this huge amount of stuff. Can you get us hyped? I can see some stuff in the background of your frame right there.
Well, I'm happy to start with one of those because, luckily having the vaults and the archives close at hand, I've been spending a few hours every now and then of my work day to kind of break it up and indulge myself by taking a look for things that we have, especially a few spares of. And one of the things we found in the warehouse not too long ago are these uncut poster sheets of Mythos cards, our collectible card game or semi-collectible card game from the 1990s. This is actually the new Eon sheet, one of the rarer ones. I've even got the Chaosium card on this one, the Chaosium staff right there. Pictures of, Greg and, other people like that. And so these are the uncut actual cards. This is not some, reprint or anything like that. They just kept a few of these for whatever purpose they wanted, maybe as proofs or whatever. But we've actually got a full set of these that we're going to be auctioning in the collectibles part of it. I got the idea from Peter Atkinson when he was at Gen Con, because they have these for every Magic the Gathering card. And I'm like, I think we got some of those in our warehouse too. And so I had to dig those out.
That's absolutely fantastic. So can you talk to us about some of the other exciting things? And I know that you showed me a little bit before we went in. There's all these cool piles of stuff.
Well, I'm always happy to talk about collectibles and rare Chaosium things. But, some of the more standard things, just for those that like something simple that isn't too much money, this is the printer proof for the RuneQuest Role-Playing in Glorantha Bestiary book. This is pretty much totally unobtainable because it's a uncut poster of just the proofs for that particular book. And of course, because there were 2 main books in that slipcase set, why not have the one for the RuneQuest rule book as well? So, these are the kind of things that we expect will be popular, but not too much money. But they are also one of a kind. These are the only printer proofs, the only one that's in existence. But, we also wanted to pull some older things from the archives. Like, this is a layout page back in the cut and paste layout days from the Stormbringer rule book. And this is, one of the original Frank Brunner, full page pieces of art, a reproduction of it. But this is the actual cut and paste layout from, the early 80s.
I mean, there's just such a range of stuff available. Is there any particular item that you would say, and this is a tough question, that you are the most excited about?
I'm excited for a number of items for a number of reasons. Like, for example, on a personal level, this is the first Moon Design publication of all time. And it's Pavis and Big Rebel, one of the Glorantha classics. Very hard to get a hold of, but this is one of the hardcovers. We only did 300 of these, and I'm willing to, have one of the spares, since only got 2 in the archives, have this in there. And of course, I'm happy to sign it. And the other people who worked on the project would be happy to sign it. And so we're going to have a rare chance to get Pavis and Big Rebel hardcover in there. And so that's pretty near and dear and special to me. It's not the rarest thing in the world, but it's certainly highly sought after.
So you, as you said, you've been heading and been representing a lot of auctions for collectibles, Chaosium collectibles, and things like that. And I know that you've seen a lot of things like people saying collectibles at Gen Con and stuff like that. In terms of the structure of this auction, in terms of the way that you're going to run it, is there something that gets you particularly sort of excited or interested? You know, the fact that the crowd is going to be a very specific fan base, Chaosium fans, or the fact that it's, you know, what's the stylistically interesting things to you?
Well, we had a wide variety of people who have already said they're coming in part because of the auction, and some people have said it's the event they're looking forward to the most. And so, we usually start with some more of the standard items. We're going to have all this on display so people can take a look at these items up close, seeing what they're getting before they buy, bid on it. And we're going to have a large projector, so when we hold it up, it'll have the on the screen behind me. And of course, Mike Mason is my co-auctioneer, because nobody knows Call of Cthulhu like Mike does. And so he's going to be describing a number of those items, and he's actually helped me curate from the archives some of the rarer, not reprinted Call of Cthulhu publications, things that are a little bit harder to get your hands on. Just like little fun things like the Games Workshop Call of Cthulhu license supplements they did back in the 80s. These are the two main ones they did, along with Green and Pleasant Land, which is also going to be on auction. Not super hard to get, but these are in really good condition. They're part of the Chaosium archives, and we're happy to have them go to a collector's good home. And so some items like that, just to get the crowd interested in it. But we also found some things that are definitely not available anywhere else. Like when they did the Miskatonic University, set back, in a folio, there were a few that were uncut that we have in the archives. And so if you want something that you can frame and have on your wall, that's, this is basically, we've never sold one of these before. I've never seen them available anywhere, but we have a modest number of them in the archives. So why not let one go to a collector that would love to have that on your art, nice and framed. And of course, that's for Call of Cthulhu fans. But if you're looking for something super rare for RuneQuest, back when they did the box sets, this is what the printer proofs looked like. And it just so happens, got an extra one of these kicking around. Once again, it'd be great framed on your wall. It's the uncut poster sheet for the box top. And of course, we want to have something for all things, not just Glorantha or, Call of Cthulhu. So, hey, all you ElfQuest fans out there, if you want some wonderful Peony art, here you go. It's the cover from the box set. Once again, never see these. You're probably never going to see them again, because this was done in the 80s. They made them all into boxes, and it's just one of the leftovers. And I was really lucky that when I was finding those things, even going back a little bit further, for all you Elric and Stormbringer fans, I had forgotten we had these. But this is the front and back of the original, Elric boxed game we did. It's one of the, early boxed games we did. And so once again, some uncut posters, mint condition, ready to be framed, just waiting for a collector to have it on their wall.
It's just incredible. Those are all so exciting. The ones that, speaking from a personal level, I know some of them and I'm like, wow. And the other ones before my time, I still, can recognize how cool they are from a collector's perspective. At the risk of, breaking the illusion and breaking the magic a little bit. So, maybe don't answer too much in detail, but you talked about the Chaosium archives. And I think that immediately evokes images of you going down into an underground vault with a torch in hand and an elder sign held in the other to try and fend off beasts. What can you tell us just a little bit about the Chaosium vaults when you talk about the warehouse? I'll let you keep the magic in place or break it as much as you see fit.
Well, in a rarely seen location, mainly guarded by myself, and I'm just going to say eldritch magic that I'm not going to talk about, along with a few Isseries wards and Great Market Guardians. I happen to have the keys to the vaults, as we call them, which on a mundane level, they look a lot like banker's boxes, and they look a lot like large envelopes and other miscellaneous odd shaped things that contain everything from every era of Chaosium going back to 1974, when it was just the Stafford's Chaosium before even White Bear and Red Moon came out. And so I've just been going through the different eras, of all the different things and seeing, we want to hold on to some things for posterity, because maybe someday there'll be a Chaosium museum people can visit, or it might even end up as a larger, part of a larger role-playing games museum that's out there someday. We'll see how that goes. But there are other things that, really haven't seen the light of day since we packed up the warehouse in 2015. And it's funny what, even when we were packing it up and setting things aside, we in the 6.5 years or so that's intervened since then, you forget what's in there. And so when we're going through the boxes and we're seeing things, and it's going to be a wide range of things, because, Chaosium's worked with a wide range of fan publishers and semi-pro publishers and licensees. And so there are some rarer products by Pagan Publishing. Their big Alone on Halloween scenario that we happen to have basically a near mint copy of, and of Keys and Gates, which don't come up too much for auction. But once again, we want to appeal to all kinds of tastes. Or like, some of the things that were hard to get in the United States, but, I happen to be one of the distributors and worked with like the Trade Talk publishers with their RuneQuest and Glorantham publications, where, two of the more popular issues in the magazine of Trade Talk were 8 and 9, the Pathos Big Rubble expansions. And so I've got some spares, they're going into the auction. Or it could be as some classic, really old stuff. Like we just did the Call of Cthulhu Classic project. We weren't able to get everything reprinted there, but some people really want a near mint copy of Curse of the Chthonians or Alone Against the Dark. And so we're going to have these in the auction as well. Chaosium in the archives, we have multiple copies in near mint, or pretty much put in the box back in 1982 when it came out, and hadn't been touched since, other than me touching it right now. But I washed my hands first. I should wear cotton gloves, but I'm rather just be quick about it. But, we have these things and we want them to go to good homes. But, we also have some other just fun stuff that I love. The fact that back in the 90s, Chaosium did these Cthulhu for President packs. And so, we're going to have the 96 and the 92 and the year 2000 one, all in the shrink. And so the shrink wrap collectors, they're going to have a field day with some of the things that are available at Chaosium Con auction, just because, we got a few of these in the vaults. We'd rather have them go to good collectors. And so when on that shrink wrap theme, we recently reprinted Beyond the Mountains of Madness. But the thing is, one of the rarer things that came out was the hardcover version of Beyond the Mountains of Madness. I believe Chaosium maybe did 100 of these back in the day. I didn't even know about it back then. And I had a subscription for one of everything. And I got the 25th anniversary hardcover of Beyond the Mountains of Madness. But I didn't know that in the original printing in 1999, they did just about 100 of these. And, we've got a spare one in the shrink. And so if you want one of the few that are out there, especially probably one of the only ones still in the shrink, that's the kind of thing to get. And of course, if you're going to be getting that, you're going to want the Arctic Expedition pack that goes along with it. And then I found out just while I was going through the vaults that, when they were packaging some of them up, sometimes they didn't even put the brown band on it. So if you want both versions of it, we're going to have one of each of those there. So you can get the brown band version and the, unbranded version of it, which actually didn't go through retail. So the only way you can get this is by getting the ones that the guys with the shrink wrap machine were too quick and didn't put the band on before they shrink wrapped it. So, but yeah, sitting in the vault since 1999.
Let me ask then, with including the auction, including all the other things, can you just give us one quick blast of hyping people up for Chaosium Con, those people who are still maybe not quite sure if they're going to go? One last line for everyone who's still considering it.
I want to talk about just the atmosphere that's going to be at Chaosium Con, because we have a lot of games that are being played. We have some seminars and panels where you can be with, 50 or 75 people in the room, depending on how many people want to hear that particular topic, be it what's coming up with Lords of the Middle Sea, or you want to be in on the seminar with how to create interesting handouts and maps and things like that, or how to GM Call of Cthulhu to keep it more scary. But outside of those bigger events, we're going to have a never before gathering of Chaosium people over 25 of us, where we're going to be around, not just in the con suite away from everybody or unavailable. We're going to be there on the con floor, very available, ready to just be able to sit down, have a drink, have a snack. There's a lot of time to just chat with a lot of Chaosium people, and just it's a very social atmosphere. And it's because there's only going to be about 300 people in total at the convention. Probably you don't get a lot of chances at a convention that size to spend quality time with the people making, be it printing, writing, editing, cartographers, artists. You're going to have most of Chaosium there if you just want to pick our brains, talk about one of your favorite ideas for a scenario or anything else. There's going to be a lot of time to be social, as opposed to where you're at like Gen Con, being tens of thousands of people. That's hard to get a lot of quality time with anybody. But a lot of us have been to a number of conventions, especially smaller conventions overseas, where we like having that time to just sit down and relax and not be too hurried and be in huge crowds, like at the Gen Con booth, where we have dozens of people stopping by every few minutes, as opposed to here we're going to have a much smaller booth where it's going to be a much more easier time to just chat with us. And actually in the booth, I should point out, I almost forgot this, that in the Chaosium booth, we're going to have a lot of fairly standard out of print Chaosium items in kind of a big extra special section on the stall, where if you want stuff that was out of print from 10 years ago or 15 years ago, and you just want to pick up a very good condition copy, we're going to have a lot of that at our exhibit hall.